Hello and welcome to today's episode of Focus Atlanta. I am your host, Keisha Lancelin. Thanks so much for tuning in with us this Sunday morning. In this week's episode, we will discuss our country's 911 response to mental health crises. We'll learn how parks and green space can provide the healthy escape our minds and bodies need. We'll get tips on how after-school programs can be essential to a child's development. We'll begin discussing the use of melatonin with your kids. I'm here with Dr. Laura Hartstein.
I'm Lauren Hartstein. I'm an assistant professor of psychiatry at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, and my research focuses on sleep and circadian rhythms in early child development. Melatonin is a hormone that's naturally produced by the body, and it signals that it's time to wind down and get ready for sleep. A melatonin supplement can help some children to fall asleep earlier and to shift their internal clock to be better aligned with when parents are trying to get them to bed, but it's not necessarily a recommended solution for most sleep problems. Sleep problems are very common throughout childhood, and kids' sleep patterns naturally change a lot as they grow and hit different maturational stages. And so parents are struggling with bedtime or delayed sleep schedules, and they're searching for a solution. We know that melatonin sales have skyrocketed in recent years, and the products now come in forms that are advertised specifically for children, like gummies and jelly beans and even chocolate. And so it really feels like a much more accessible option for parents. In much of the world, melatonin is considered a medication that requires a prescription, but in the US, it's regulated as a dietary supplement, so it doesn't require a prescription. You can get it at any grocery store or pharmacy, and it's under much looser regulations, which has been a little bit of a concern, is that there's some inconsistency in the quality of the available products. So a recent study actually examined melatonin products that are marketed for children, and they found that the actual amount of melatonin in them ranged wildly compared to the labeled content of how much was supposed to be in there. And so there's some concern that parents might not know how much melatonin their child is actually taking. Melatonin is considered generally safe and well tolerated for short-term use in children with minimal side effects. There is good evidence that it can help with certain sleep issues with kids with developmental conditions like autism. But for most children, it is recommended to focus more on behavioral and schedule-based strategies first before turning to melatonin as a supplement. Some really effective strategies to help children maintain healthy sleep is keeping a really consistent schedule as well as a pre-bedtime routine, even on weekdays or on vacation when children aren't in school, as well as reducing screen use and bright light exposure in the hour before bedtime. Very little is known about long-term melatonin use. At this point, we just really don't know how it might affect sleep or development. We do know that children are taking it for long periods of time. In a survey that we conducted, we found that even preschool children had been given melatonin for a median length of 12 months for parents who have been taking it, so a pretty big portion of their young lifespan. And while we do know that it's safe in the short term, we just don't know what effects it could have as long-term use. So generally, young children don't get to choose their own bedtimes. And if their internal circadian clock isn't lined up properly with the bedtime that parents are setting or with when they need to be in bed in order to get up at the right time for school or daycare, their body just simply might not be ready for sleep. And that mismatch between bedtime and circadian timing can lead to bedtime resistance and difficulty falling asleep. It's important because we know that melatonin use is growing. We know that parents are turning to it in larger numbers than ever to help their children to sleep. We know that sleep in early childhood is extremely important. The sleep habits that children establish at a young age will follow them throughout childhood and adolescence. We also know that not getting enough sleep in early childhood can have really severe outcomes for development, for emotional development, for academic performance later in life. And so finding effective and safe strategies to support parents in helping their child to sleep even from an early age is really critical. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And so for any parent whose child is struggling with sleep or they're considering giving them melatonin, it's really important to talk to a healthcare provider first They can make sure there's no underlying condition that's contributing to sleep problems. They can review behavioral or schedule changes that parents can implement as an alternative to melatonin use or in conjunction with it in the short term to get children back on track, as well as any appropriate dosing and timing of melatonin for their specific child's age and concerns if they're going to use it. My research mainly focuses on the environmental factors that affect sleep in early development, like the light exposure or screen media use. And I know that it's really important to help children sleep early and that parents are often struggling with it. And so I see in my research a lot of parents who are having difficulties. They're really desperately trying to find ways to get their kid to sleep. And so it's really important to me that we're able to provide them with accurate information so that they can make the best, most informed recommendations and decisions regarding their children's health and sleep.
Please stay tuned for more Focus Atlanta. We'll be right back.